The Comanches are one of the most famous and colorful Indians of North America. They have rendered perhaps the most powerful resistance to the Pale Faces. But who are these Comanches? How did they appear? How is their fate now? Usually not many people know. So, the Comanches originally belonged to the Shoshone Indians, who lived in the mountainous territories of the present states of Wyoming, Nevada, Idaho. They belonged to the Uto-Aztec linguistic family that is remotely related to the Mexican Aztecs, whom conquered in the XVI century. Comanches originated from the Shoshone Indians that in XVI centuries decided to migrate from the mountains to the plains in the areas of the modern states of Oklahoma, Kansas, New Mexico, Colorado, and Texas. There, having mastered horses with firearms, the Comanches quickly displaced their predecessors, the Apaches. They became a nightmare for the Spanish, French, Mexicans, and then the Americans. The Comanches, these fantastic warriors, could not be conquered by the Palefaces for more than 2 centuries. The most powerful nation of savages on the entire American continent, so described the Comanches American historians of the XIX century. By the way, the Comanches called themselves simply and unpretentiously Numai people. The word Comanche, enemies, which was picked up and slightly twisted by Europeans, was nicknamed Comanche, enemies by the surrounding Indians who suffered from Comanche raids. Hardened by intertribal skirmishes and buffalo hunts, the Comanches were incredibly skilled in battle. The Comanches operated in bands of several hundred men. Usually these Indians attacked the enemy in a scattered formation, effectively acting with spears and tomahawks. But they were also unusually skillful at shooting with bows and firearms, reloading their rifles at a gallop. What helped the Comanches was their carefully organized military system. Boys in the tribe learned to ride horses and wield tomahawks almost before they could walk. And by the age of 15, they were already considered full-fledged warriors, characterized by incredible bravery in battle. Another feature of Comanches was their fantastic unpretentiousness. These guys could eat dogs or raccoons if necessary. Starving the Comanches was not an easy thing to do. And the other thing about the Comanches was their incredibly flexible diplomacy. These Indians managed to make a treaty against common enemies between themselves and with other Indian tribes. And they also had no problem quarreling with whites themselves, for example. They supported Mexicans against Americans. The Comanches thus not only stopped the white advance into Western North America for 2 centuries, but they also retaliated quite well, besieging and burning the forts of the Pale-Face invaders, pushing back the frontiers of European colonists. There was even an entire Comanche trading and raiding area, which the whites tentatively called Comancheria, and they tried to stay away from it. For the Comanches were also famous for their incredible cruelty. During dashing raids, they easily destroyed or scalped all the male population of the enemy that they met on the warpath. Curiously, the Comanches willingly took the women and children of the enemy into their tribe. With full rights, they could also become Comanches. As a result, among these Indians, there were even Afro-Comanches, descendants of captured children of dark-skinned slaves. The Americans were able to finally defeat the Comanches only after their own civil war in the 1870s, sending a huge army of experienced cavalrymen to the Comancheria and surrounding the unruly area with a ring of forts. A heavy blow to the unruly tribe was also inflicted by a sudden smallpox epidemic that killed nearly 10,000 people out of 30. The whites rewarded the Comanches with cholera and measles. The Comanches were deprived of all their potential allies. The Yankees pushed the Mexicans far to the south, winning the war, and the rest of the surrounding Indians were conquered or exterminated. The Americans struck a powerful blow to the main fishing base of the Comanches' countless herds of bison, the production of which essentially fed the entire tribe. Having exterminated thousands of bison, the Americans overnight put the Comanches on the brink of starvation. Yes, you can eat raccoons, but not all the time. The last major rebellion against the Pale-Face Comanches rose in 1874 under the leadership of their leader Quan Parker, the son of the chief, and his white slave girl. But no matter how bravely the Indians fought, their forces were exhausted. Only 1,500 men remained of the once mighty tribe. In fact, the Comanches were saved from total extermination by the punishers by American Colonel Mackenzie, who led a punitive expedition against them. Mackenzie was able to persuade the Indians to give him all the horses and go to the reservation in the southwestern part of Oklahoma. And with the proceeds from the sale of Indian herds, he honestly bought cows, goats, and sheep, which he gave to the remnants of the Comanche tribe. Thus, the Indians were starved to death. However, the Comanches were still locked in a reservation in Oklahoma, where they began to quietly die of drunkenness and disease. However, now the Comanche tribe is slowly coming back to life. Now they are about 15,000 to 17,000 people, half of whom live outside the reservation. The Comanches still remember the glory of their legendary ancestors, the warriors whose daring raids once terrorized half of the American continent.